so many things there, and I was like, symbology,
Let's start friends and family.
Okay, because I was going to see them.
We're going to go ahead and get started since we are running so late this afternoon.
And then talk about it, kids.
Although you know it's always on time. Tutu Ori, Tutu and me, Tutu Aye, Tutu Laroye, Iba Shelo Dumaria Battery Kaye, Batiwo Joy, Batiwo, Baleo Gary Apoko Yeri, Barumala Ileri Ipin, by Igbarumla Joko Tun, by Igbarumla Joko Sin, by Kalani Irin Wa Rumale, Iba Akora Iba Ashera. But one year I find you a gem, Majo Bobo, Ogun Dele Me and Bele say, Oludumare Ibaye or Ibaye by a Turun Rawa Batunu, Iba Oluwa, Baba Odubolo Fatamisha, Iba Ojobono, Bokono Manahojko Fizunu, Iba Pojito, Nojito Vizunu, Iba Ielo Shashango Iniola, Iba She Saleko, Iba Oba Sajimane for me the first, Iba Oba Sajimane for me the second. Iba Oluwami Fatai Fagbimor, Iba Petty B Faleri Fagbimor, Iba Bogboy Deli Fagbimor, Iba Bogboy Deli Amushan, Iba Agbomola B Orisha, Iba Abeokuta Nigeria, Iba Oloko Meji Village Nigeria, Iba Ile Ife, Iba Oyotunji Village South Carolina, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo, Orisha Kosi Iku, Kosi Fatibo, Kosi Wahala, Kosi Buruku, Funwa Alafia, Funwa Ire, Funwa Iwakwele, Funwa Bobo 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 Owo. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Okay. All right, ladies, let's get it. Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, Dambala, Dambala.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Dambala, welo.
Lebayo. Lebayo. Lebayo, ma pare sole, atibo leba, ma pare sole, atibo leba, ma pare sole, atibo leba, ma pare sole. Ma pare sole, atibo leba.
Ogun ire bobo ogun wáyé ogun pa ilé ogun pa lọ́nà ire bobo ogun wáyé ogun ọ̀rẹ́ o. Ire gbogbo ogun wáyé.
Like it's more African American than Cuban, but I can't remember. So we're gonna go on and get started. If it comes to my mind, we might have to do it at the end, right? Just tell me, whoa. I remember. Okay, so today we're gonna cover Ogun. I was thinking about in the book because I was following along in my book that we may do Oshun this week, but we never did all of the warriors. So there are 3 Orisha that are considered warriors for humankind. Okay, there's also an entity, a group of spirits that are considered warriors against humankind. So there's 2 different warrior sets. So you have the warriors for humankind, and that consists of Ogun, Eshu, and Oshoshu. Okay, those 3 deities are warriors. So I'm gonna start off. So all the songs that we just did for online people, the last 3 songs were songs for Ogun. I'm gonna start off with just reading from my book, and then we'll go into more information about Ogun. Ogun is the force of efficiency, invention, and solitude. He is the human tendency to struggle for a better, more abundant life. He is the force of war and of holistic technological advancement. He is the force of territorialism. He's represented in the human ability to use nature to make mental images manifest, which we call invention. He is naturally manifested in the forest, in blacksmiths, and in black dogs. His vibration can be found in the metal iron and in the colors green and black together. His number is 7, which is why we sing that song, Magic, Magic. That's just 7. It's saying there are 7 Oguns, okay? He's the owner of Ire. Ogun is the owner of Ire. Ire is all of the blessings that you asked for before you decided to be born this time. Ogun owns that. He owns Ire. This is why we say Ire Bobo, because he owns all Ire. He gains this Ire through work. Okay? Blessings come through work. Children of Ogun are solitary people who enjoy spending time alone. When faced with trouble or negativity, they retreat into the forest by going within. They must guard against using physical aggression and or intimidation to control others. Ogun's children are the strong, silent type. They are also extremely dependable and reliable. Males whose heads are ruled by Ogun have to be careful not to suffer from impotence or infertility, and so they have to take preventative measures against these diseases. Children of Ogun are creative and enjoy working with their hands, and all children of Ogun must guard against acting hastily. So the force of Ogun, according to our ancestors, once we came to the West, the deity that we always pay homage to before we begin any spiritual work became Eshu. But from an ancient perspective, the deity that they paid homage to as the owner of that doorway between the spirit realm and the physical realm was actually Ogun. Okay, from an ancient perspective, Ogun is that central part of Earth Mother Onile, all the way deep in the center. And as we know, that part is hot. That's lava. That's metal that stays liquefied because it's so hot. That is the force of Ogun. Okay, Ogun is the force that our ancestors were interacting with that allowed us to be the original smelters of metal. Okay, the Iron Age was started by ancient West Africans. We were the original smelters of metals, and this is because of our connection with Ogun. This is another reason that we see him as the owner of Iraq, right? Because you can't really farm as well without metal. You cannot fight as well without metal. You cannot forge a living in the rainforest. We're tropical rainforest people. You can't forge a living there, or really anywhere on Earth, Mother Onile, if you don't have that ability to harness that power of metal. So it's Ogun, that energy and that force and our connection with him that gave us the ability to harness this power. So this is why we see him as so essential. Okay, he was that gateway originally. Take your things out. Ogun is not. He is one of those Orisha that has volatile energy. Okay, he's not an Orisha. You know, we have what we call Orisha Funfun, and we have Orisha Pupo. This is the white Orisha, the Orisha with that calm, peaceful energy, and Pupo is the red Orisha. Okay, so Ogun is one of the Pupo Orisha. He's one of the Orishas that kind of that volatile energy. Okay, very necessary to live life, very necessary to propitiate, but not just nobody that you just want to be calling down for no reason. You know, Ogun is like that, you know, that granddaddy who is always out there fixing on something. He got all them cars in his yard and he's fixing on them, right? But granddaddy also, if you bring your car over there, knows how to fix it, right? So he's a little worse, and grandma's always hollering at, why got these cars in my yard, right? He's a little bit worse. He don't really talk a lot, right? He stays to himself. He's sitting off to the side with his, you know, slit small liquor, whatever it is he drinks. But he makes sure that the family runs smoothly. Okay, this is that kind of Ogun energy. So it's two different stories that come from our mythology that I'm thinking about sharing with about Ogun. I'm trying to see which one. Should I do the one about him coming out? I think that one him coming out first is really more about Oshun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I ain't gonna do that one. Okay, so this one is actually from the Odu Ogbe, I think. Am I right? Yeah, Eji Ogbe. And it starts off Mafi wa wa bo la po wa wa. Everybody say that. Mafi wa wa bo la po wa wa. Say it again. Mafi wa wa bo la po wa wa. Our ancestors said, do not hurry back from anything that requires patience. Okay? This is the story of Endure Suffering Market. So, Ogun was in the forest. He was in, well, he wasn't in the forest. He was in his little smithy area, smelting some iron. And he looked up and he saw Obatala coming back from somewhere. He couldn't tell where he was coming back from. But Obatala had on this grand white and gold agbada. He had all these wives following behind him, all these children. It was praise drummers behind him. Oh, Batala, you know, so he was dancing down the street, giving it to him, you know. And it was just his wives were just carrying all this wealth on their head. It was just all kind of food and just tons of carrot shells, beads of all kinds. He get all this stuff. So he stopped, you know, he greeted him. You got to greet your elders. In Yoruba society, anyone who's older than you greet with a kneel as a woman. For men, you got to lay prostrate on the ground. So he greeted him. Baba, where you been? Where'd you get all this wealth? Batala said, I had to go to Endure Suffering Market. He said, woo, it's rough in there. A whole lot of suffering going on. He said, but if you go 3 times, come back with this right here. And Ogun was like, I want to go. He's like, nah, I don't think it's for you, bro. I don't think it's for you. Go on back over there and finish, you know, smelting your iron, do what you was doing. Ogun was like, okay. He went on back to what he was doing, you know, doing his little thing. And next thing you know, he sees Shango Kabiesi come by. Same thing, beautiful red agbada, right? And you know, Shango Kabiesi, they got the bata drum going. So Shango is leaping in the air. You know, his dance is just fine. He giving it to him. He twirling the O'Shea. He got, of course, double the wives that Obatala had. You know, they follow behind him. They dancing, you know. It's 30,000 children. It's drummers of all kinds. And you know, Shango, he's ostentatious. So he throwing the wealth out. Get you some. Get you some. You know, get you the ladies just hollering, woo! Oh, you know, it's going down, you know. And Ogun is like, oh, this is my brother. Ogun and Shango are brothers. Man, where you been? You didn't tell me you was going on. What's up? You tell me you was going nowhere. He's like, yeah, man, I told you last week I was going to Endure Suffering Market. Oh, you didn't mention this to me, man. It's like, man, whoo, it's rough in there. Endure Suffering Market ain't nothing to play with. He was like, but if you go 3 times, this is what you come back with. Ogun was like, okay, let me get my stuff, man. And no, it ain't for you, man. It ain't for you. I was like, what's going on? So he said, he's like, okay, I'm going back to my smith. And you know, he's a solitary type of person. He don't like a whole bunch of drama, so he wasn't finna sit there and go back and forth with Shango. But went back to his little smithing work, doing his thing, but it kept coming back in his mind. So finally he went to his brother Shango. He said, well, man, they enjoying some palm wine together, drinking palm wine. Why you say I can't go? Why you say I shouldn't go? And he said, man, they don't allow any weapons in the Endure Suffering Market. And I know that you don't travel anywhere without your weapons. He's like, you can't even take your club in there. You definitely can't take a machete, man. You don't walk nowhere without your machete. He's like, you can't take none of that to Endure Suffering Market. You just got to go in there and take the suffering. You can't go in there fighting and beating stuff down. He was like, I can do that. He was like, man, you can't. You ain't never went nowhere without your weapon, man. You being unrealistic. And Ogun was like, man, I thought you knew me better than that, man. I can go. And he was like, okay. I'm going to show you where the interest of it is. Man, don't go in here embarrassing me. Don't act no fool. I done told you. He's like, man, what? We are brothers. I know how to act. Why you acting like I wasn't raised right? I know how to go. What you talking about? So Shango's watching him, you know your sibling. Should I do this? He was like, okay, we cool, we good. So he showed him where the interest was. He said, please don't carry no weapons in. Man, quit tripping. I ain't carrying no weapons in. So of course, Ogun waited. Shango had walked off and went on back to his 50 wives. He couldn't stay long. He got that many wives. You can't stay nowhere long. You can't stay nowhere long with one. Definitely when you got 50, you got to get on home. So he making it on back home. Going wait till he go around the corner. He takes his club. He chugs it down in one pants leg. Make sure ain't nobody looking. He takes his machete. He chugs it down in the other pants leg. Checking, ain't nobody looking. Okay, he headed on into the supermarket. Going on in here, getting on in. I got to get me some wealth. So he gets to the doorway, and the gatekeeper is a black dog. Now, the interesting thing about this is that our ancestors in Nigeria eat dog. Dog is like any other kind of meat. And it is the favorite food of Ogun. So the dog is the gatekeeper. So the dog is at the gatekeeper like, man, you got your fee to get in? He's like, my brother didn't tell me nothing about no fee. He's like, yeah, man, it's a fee. Really? You thought you was going to get up in here free? In Nigeria, you don't get nowhere free. In Nigeria, you going from one town to the next. There's some soldiers waiting right there that you got to dash. You don't go nowhere free in Nigeria. So he knew better than that. Everybody got to have a little dash before you cross that border. That's how it works. You got to grease people's palm. This is life. So the gatekeeper was like, man, you think you was getting up in here free? You're playing games. He's like, I ain't got no money. My brother didn't tell me to bring any money. He's like, well, you ain't coming in. You can't get it in your suffering market. So then Ogun starts arguing with the gatekeeper. And then he's like, for real? Because you are dinner. You finna sit here and tell me where I'm not going. He put his machete out. God! It rolling. And all of a sudden there's an outcry. Someone has killed the gatekeeper. Somebody has killed the gatekeeper. Everybody's crying out. Who killed the gatekeeper? So people start appearing. And then they're like, it was Ogun. And they chase him. Ogun is running through the forest. And the bushes and brambles of the forest ripped all his fine clothes that he was wearing into Endure Suffering Market. So he ran until he got into the interior of the forest. In the interior of the forest, he found some palm fronds. He made himself a skirt. And he sat there in solitude. But he did not follow the admonition of the ancestors. What did the ancestors say? Mafi wawa bo la po wawa. Mafi wawa bo la po wawa. Do not hurry back from anything that requires patience. Remember that patience in the Yoruba language is su'uru, which means what? Coolness and calmness in the face of adversity. So even when you are facing something that you know is beneath you, dog ain't got no business talking to me like this. I ate him barbecue last night. Is he really over here running his mouth again? Even when you're facing that, you have to face it with coolness and calmness, right? Had he been able to go to Endure Suffering Market, the wealth and the riches would have followed him. But Ogun was never able to go. This is the story of Ogun coming from Ejiogba and Endure Suffering Market. This is a story that teaches us about the importance of being able to maintain a coolness. Okay? Children of Ogun have a tendency to react very hastily. Ogun is that energy that motivates us, right? It's that energy that pushes you to do something different. This is the energy that human beings use to invent new things. So it's a quick energy, right? It's not. You see something, it's not slow. You see something that you need, you're like, oh, we could do this differently. That's the kind of energy it is, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't act on it, right? You hold it, you listen to the emotion. Even when it's time to invent something, you have to take your time and figure the thing out fully. So this is explaining to us that we have that energy inside as human beings. This is how we are able to be so adaptive among, our primate brothers and sisters. We're the most adaptive ones, right? We don't have the wonderful hand, feet, right? We evolved out of those two other hands that are so desperately needed. We evolved out of our tail, right? We don't have the things that the other primates have. We got this big old head. That's that Ogun energy, that adaptive energy. Allows you to think quickly and to do something different. So it is that energy that makes us human. This is what makes you Homo sapiens sapien. Can you always act on it in a civilized society? No. So while that Ogun energy is completely and totally necessary, this story and any other story that has Ogun in it is teaching us how to keep it calm, right? Our entire society, the Yoruba society, is based around the concept of itutu, coolness, right? We are obsessed with being cool as Africans in America, and that is our birthright. That's not new, right? That's not something that we gained once we got here. We have been obsessed with being cool. Coolness has been the necessity. You cannot have civilization without people being able to keep their heads. So every story about Ogun is saying this is good that you have this energy. It's good that you have this impulse. You have to be able to keep your head. You have to be able to keep your coolness. This does not work in a civilized society. In a more rugged society, yeah, you kill the dog and you eat the dog because people got to eat, right? But in a civilized society, you can't just slew the messenger, brother. You got to wait. It may have been a time that was coming when they was going to feast on the dog. But we don't know, right? We never know. We don't know what the end of the story is. We don't know if Ogun was supposed to get his riches or what was going to happen. If a beautiful wife was just sitting in there waiting on him, just waiting for that dude to come through. He never came through, right? Because that impulse cannot be acted upon if you are going to maintain civility. Okay, so Ogun is necessity. He is that necessary impulse, but he also is the reminder that in order to maintain, how you have to channel that energy properly. Okay, Ogun's number is 7. I said that colors are red and are black and green. It's sometimes red, black, and green. Sometimes people add the red in there too, as well. Yeah. Mhm. The most famous child of Ogun was known as Zumbi. He was one of the leaders of the first democratic society in North America, in the North American region, actually South America. So in the Americas, in the Western Hemisphere, I guess I should say. So the first democratic society on this side of the globe was called Palmares. It was created by a group of West Africans who fought against enslavement and were victorious always against their enslavers. And so, what the Portuguese decided was that they would just have to grant this group of people their own society. They called the society in Portuguese Palmares, which just means palms in the air. And they would use the palm fruit to make palm wine, as we had done for millennia in West Africa. But we called it, as Africans, a quilombo. Quilombo is a Kikongo word that means a warrior training camp. So that was our name for it. The original leader of Palmares was a brother named Ganga Zumba. Well, it was originally a sister, and her name was Agotime. Agotime was from the Dahomean area. Dahomey was a nation in West Africa that actually built its wealth off of sending the rest of us into slavery. This is how Dahomey became the West African superpower, was by sending everybody else into slavery. Dahomey is what we now call Benin, okay? But within the war, one of the princesses from Dahomey was captured and she was sent into slavery. The majority of West Africans went to Brazil. So many West Africans went to Brazil that it used to be called Little Nigeria. So when she was taken into slavery, she of course wound up in Brazil. And they say that when she saw the horrors that her people were undergoing that she did not know about, she was under the impression that sending someone into slavery was the same as it was in West Africa. She did not know the horrors of it. So when she herself found herself in these horrors, she refused to leave because the Dahomean king immediately sent someone to get her. And when they came to get her, she said, "How could I leave my people in this condition?" So instead of leaving, she created this society. And those that helped her to maintain it were the warriors from the Congo. And in Congolese society, they have warrior training camps that each young man must go to because each young man must be a warrior for a time before he can then become a husband and whatever else he's going to do. So they created a warrior training camp in Brazil, several actually. They had several different states, and Palmares was the head of it. But there were several warrior training camps in Brazil, and those were quilombos. Palmares was the head one, run by Agotime. Okay. Once Agotime stepped down, and some say that she stepped down and died. Some say that she just went on back to Dahomey. But when she met her successor, she divined. She was a priestess as well. She divined and found out that this young man was a successor. He was a Yoruba man. And she made him the successor. He was the child of Obakosa. And she left. That was the end of her reign. Ganga Zumba was the next ruler. Okay. Ganga Zumba decided that he was going to make a pact with the Portuguese. He decided that he was not going to just say, "This is our land, as Africans, and you Portuguese people stay over there." He was going to make a pact with them. He thought that he could work with them. So one of the young rulers stepped up and said, "We're not going to do that. That's not what we're going to do. They are murderous. They are still bringing our people into slavery. Why would you make a pact with this? Is not going to work out." So this ruler that rose up was, of course, a child of Ogun, and this was Zumbi. Zumbi is a Kikongo word that means one who has risen from the dead. This is the root word for zombie. Okay? And the reason that they said that Zumbi had risen from the dead is because he was stolen from the Quilombo as a baby and taken to live in a monastery, in a Portuguese Catholic monastery. And he somehow ran away and came back. And so they were like, "Oh, you done rose from the dead. You are a zombie." They called him a zombie. It's not a name. It is a thing that means that you are dead and you are now still walking around alive and doing stuff. So this was Zumbi. Zumbi is well known in Afro-Brazilian mythology as a priest of Ogun. And it was his spear that was infused with the power of Ogun that gave him the ability to protect Palmares. And under him, Palmares grew. He went and gathered more enslaved Africans from the plantation. He would burn the cane fields down and burn down the plantation houses and gather all the enslaved Africans. So Palmares became bigger under him. So he is one of the greatest leaders, African leaders of his time. And they still have Zumbi Day in Brazil. It's November 20th. They still honor Zumbi and honor him as a priest of Ogun. So this is one of the most famous children of Ogun, well-known children of Ogun. But yes, that's it about Baba Ogun. Any questions? Any comments?
I remember that one thing you were saying that most revolutionaries, most people with that, very revolutionary mindset who end up being most revolutionaries end up, actually children of Ogun.
Yeah.
Such as like Marcus Garvey,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but like with that type of fiery, let's go ahead and start this and change this, ready to go in and change under new circumstances and
Yeah.
whatever needs.
Yeah. And they don't have they have a spirit of no compromise. Yeah. So most of those individuals with a spirit of no compromise, we recognize as children of Ogun. If you think about Marcus Garvey, of course, the colors that he chose, for the flag were the colors of Ogun. It's like, yeah, not even having that connection, but not necessarily being completely aware. But saying, yeah, this is the colors of our flag. So, yeah, I would completely agree. Most of those really, really hardcore revolutionaries, children of Ogun, because he brings that revolutionary. I'm not going to play whatever needs to be destroyed. I don't have a problem destroying it to get to whatever this is on the other side. You know, when we sing the song about Ogun, we are saying Ogun pa ile, Ogun pa lona, Ogun kills in the house, Ogun kills in the road. Right? That's what pa is. Ogun pa ile, Ogun pa lona, and then we say Ire Bogbo. After that, he brings all Ire, right? Through that slewing of everything that's unnecessary, he brings all Ire, right? Ogun clears the path for you to get your erect by any means necessary. Naida was just saying. Yes, brother. Probably not. Martin Luther King was probably a child of Shango Kabiesi. Reason being because he's a strategist. He's trying to use strategy. Let me figure it out. Let me get inside your head and try to figure it out. A woman try to use no strategy. He just gonna chop you down. He ain't gonna wait. He ain't gonna try to figure out. He's not trying to get inside your head. He's like, oh, you need to be destroyed. So Shango Kabiesi is more going to sit back and try to figure it out. Ogun is not going to do that. But that's a good question. Very good question.
And then, like, I know in most like Brazilian revolutionary movies, the protagonist is always strong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that in Bisuru as well? Yeah, in Bisuru, yeah. He's a child of Ogun as well.
It's comforting to see the connections between even revolutionaries that we know, like in modern day, quote unquote modern day. It'd be fascinating, to see if they were ever, if they were. But I think that whether you sat on the mat and got divine, whether it was told to you or not, it's clear by your actions, the way you lived your life.
Yes. Yes.
Universe is like, well, duh.
Right. You got
Look
to
at what
be.
they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And that other one that you just mentioned, Besuru, from Brazil as well, right? Still Brazil, famous capoeira fighter, whose capoeira was so dope that he could fly. Yeah. Yeah, he could fly. He flew from tree to tree. That's why he's called Besuru. Besuru means beetle in Portuguese. But that's how dope he was. And again, fighting against oppression later on, because this was after the abolition of slavery in Brazil. Of course, trying to get his girl. That's true. But still having to fight against the oppression of Black people, and he used capoeira to fight against, the oppressive regime. And yes, very well known priest of Ogun. It was Ogun that they say they gave him his power to fly and his power to be invincible. They said that bullets could not touch Bisuru.
But he did have small bullet at the end.
He did. But originally they said bullets could not touch him because he had his charm. He had his Ogun amulet that protected him. But they would say that because how are you fighting against somebody with guns with capoeira and winning? So they were like, it's because bullets can't touch him. Because he got that power of Ogun. He's just, because they metal. It's just like, I don't know, you ain't gonna touch my son. But yeah. So that's another famous Ogun, son of Ogun revolutionary brother. So that is the energy, the cosmic force, the Orisha Ogun. I think that it is beautiful. I love especially the story of Zumbi because it shows those three great West African empires coming together. Okay, so you had the Yoruba Empire, the Oyo Empire actually, and you had the Empire of Dahomey, and then you had the Kikongo Empire, and they were the three that came together to create this safe haven, for all West Africans. So I love that story and having that information. Madhoji taught us that the reason for the Ma'afa was to reunite the 16 great minds of West Africa because we had become divided. And he said that we forgot at some point that we had a common root. So we were looking at our brothers and sisters from Dahomey thinking they were somebody different. Our brothers and sisters from Ghana were thinking they're somebody different. If you Yoruba and you Fan, he said we were all acting like we were something different. He said, so then this common tragedy happened. And now that we are here, we are all of those. So he was like coming here, united all of those lines again. And it showed us the similarities in the spiritual systems. It gave us the ability to use all of those spiritual systems. So you have the Kikongo deities coming in, the Fan deities coming in, because all of the Dahomean deities, the Fan deities are the Vodun. So that's, and to know that that particular empire made its money from slavery, but for that particular spiritual system to have such a stronghold in the West, that speaks volumes. So all those Vodun deities come from Dahomey. All the Orisha, of course, are Yoruba. And then the strong connection to the ancestors. The other branch of our tradition is called Palo. And the Palo tradition is what comes out of the Congo. And this is considered the darker side of the tradition. So if you find someone who wears Palo, people are always a little scared, a little worried, but that's the Kikongo side. So that's considered to be more dangerous. Okay, the Orisha are considered fun compared to the Kikongo deities. The Kikongo deities ain't nothing to play with. None of them. All of them are red deities. Okay. Whereas in Orisha we have some calm ones and some that are not. The Kikongo deities in the way that we view them from the West, they're all red. But to see, yeah, you don't play with them. So if somebody says they practice Palo, people are usually a little standoffish, But it is that side of the tradition that kept all of us completely and totally protected. Right?
You said the tradition, are you speaking about African spiritual tradition or particularly one tradition?
West African tradition in particular. But if we the way that we came to practice the Yoruba tradition, the Orisha tradition in the West, is actually all of these. It's a mixture of all of these. And that's why so many pieces of it, when you go to Nigeria, if you speak to someone that's a traditionalist from Nigeria, we do something different over here. Okay? Because we actually mixed all of those. So when I say the tradition, generally I'm speaking about the New African tradition and how we came to practice it over here. Okay, but it is the child of all of those lineages, really.
Yeah, because I've been reading, different things, and I see the Hune and I see the Vodun, and some of the Orisha were borrowed from there, and they borrowed this from us. And I'm like, because they're spelled different, but not just Santeria and Lukumi and stuff, but they're literally within the continent.
Yeah,
they're crossed over. They don't necessarily mean the same thing, but they're borrowed.
Right,
the energy is the same, but
well, everything changes.
Similar.
Yeah, well, it changes according to your ecology.
Right.
Okay, so amongst the Fan, well, in the Yoruba we have Orishanla, that's Obatala. Yes. Amongst the Fan, that same energy is known as Lisa, but it's just Olisa, it's just Orisha, okay? But it's the same energy. But it's a little different because across that mountain, the ecology is just a little different. Right. So that's why it'll be tweaked just a little bit, but you'll be able to very clearly see, now in when you go on down a little bit further into where the Mande people come from, you go to Sierra Leone, then the Oshun energy is mixed with the Orumala energy, but it is completely female and is a mermaid. Okay, same in Gambia, in the Senegambian area. It's still called Fa. It was called Pharaoh in the Senegambian area. Same energy. It's the energy of memories, the energy of divination, but it's mixed. with the Oshun energy. The Camby, the river that flows through Gambia, that Gambia is named for. That's Europeans trying to say Camby is Gambia. But the Camby that flows through is their river. That's like their Oshun River. And Pharaoh lives in this river. She is a mermaid, but she is the deity of divination as well. So it's like a mixture. So you don't really go anywhere and not find these roots, but they have to be tweaked a little bit because the ecology is just a little different. And that's what we were interacting with. So we were understanding, interacting with particular types of plants, interacting with particular types of natural elements. That's how we understood the universe and ourselves. So it was tweaked just a little bit, but yeah, it would be the same. And we, at one point, honored a single West African mother root. We at one point understood we all come from this root. And according to the Metahochi, all of the systems work together. And we got away from that. We were just over here doing Orisha. But he's saying that's less powerful than working it with the Kikongo deities, than working it with the Fon deities, which is what we were originally doing. So we got away from that, and then we began. This is why we started doing the Ela, so that I could say I was Yoruba. Because our West African people look very similar, right? We look. Some of us a little taller, some of us a little shorter. Outside of that, the features, that same kind of really pretty. Just when you see it as an African descendant, you always just like, ooh, that you can't move away from it. It's just whoo, it pulls you. So it's that same look, right? So really, technically, we couldn't tell the difference, right, between who was Yoruba and who was Fon.
Right.
If we could have told the difference, we would have never needed Ella, right? So we start putting a mark on our face, so that when you looked at me, you knew how she Yoruba. Only them people from Oyo got their marks, so you knew who. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. So, but we became that ethnocentric, and it was that ethnocentricity that led us into that tragedy, right? Because I began to believe she from over there in Dahom. I can't stand them Dahom. Right?
Cow people.
Ain't nobody got no time. Right. We over here living in the forest. They just lazy. They don't even hunt their animals. They over there domesticate. Ooh, we couldn't stand them, right? So we started to be able to objectify them. This is why it was easy for us to treat them as though they were not human. We didn't realize the degree to which we were doing that. We didn't know that the people we were giving people to thought of us all as something less than human, even more so than what we were thinking of our neighbors. So this ethnocentricity is what got us here. So he was like, once we were here, the ancestors did away with the ethnocentricity, right? We all black over here, right?
And they all black over there.
See? Don't nobody care. We don't even know. We don't know to care. And even when we do learn, if now we can go and get our DNA and learn, it makes no difference over here. It ceased making difference the minute we got on that boat. It makes no difference. So we had to reach a point where we became non-ethnocentric. And that is, according to Metahochi, the reason for the whole thing. There ain't nobody ethnocentric over here. We ain't even got the luxury of knowing. Black, you black. You black, you automatically West African. In Americas, in the Americas, automatically people gonna assume you from West Africa. Your ancestors had to come from West Africa, right? And nobody gonna even give you the benefit of the doubt. All of us don't go. In my family, we got 20% East African genes. All of us technically don't come from West Africa. I don't get that luxury. If my first cousin hadn't went and got that test, I would have just been assuming West African because it's best to assume that, right? So yeah, we had to bring those lines together. And our tradition as New Africans is the tradition that holds all of that. That's how we practice the tradition, because we were able to find the strength in that. And the strongest proponents of it were the ones who completely and totally obliterated any lines, right? So our brothers and sisters in Haiti, they were able to just completely send the French on back to France. We're gonna holler at y'all, right? Because they completely amalgamated all of it. completely, all of it is one. When you talk about the Loa, when you're reading and understanding the Loa, it's difficult to find where the root of that is, right? Is it indigenous? Was it the indigenous people? Is it from the Taino people who were there? Is this from West Africa? Where is this from, right? Because they amalgamated it so tightly, right? And some deities over there, there's no accounting for them. Kara for. We're like, yeah, that's not, it is like Eshu, but it is also like Ogun. There's no accounting for where this deity came from because our ancestors said, we need this right here for this. And they pulled it up out of the ground, right? And so now we have it. We have a Baron Samedi. We have a Kara 4, right? We have a Urzali Dantor and a regular old Urzali, right? Because we have a red one and a white one for everything. So when you find that we did it tightly like that, so that's what we did in Brazil. We tightly wove all of it together. Nothing can come against that.
Mm-hmm. As you say, the beautiful thing about those places to me is always how everyone is seeing themselves as coming from that same place. Like you're saying, even like the native people, like the Latino people, they will be saying that they are also from, West Africa.
Yes.
I just love to see that. So you'll just see people, with darker skin, people with, Latino looking features, people just, looking mixed in all these different ways. That when you, go to university or you go, you speak to other scholars, they'll say that these people never mixed, that these people saw each other as something different. But you go to these places and you just see all these people like, no, we're all this.
Yeah.
We all come from this, and we all, worship the same deities.
Yes. Yes. So it brought us together because all of that was meant to keep us divided. The necessity of keeping us enslaved was to keep us divided. So when you couldn't continue to divide us according to which area of West Africa we came from, then you start with all of this miscegenation, all of this racial mixing, quote unquote, right? And so then you say, well, if you light skin, right? But the ancestors wasn't honoring none of that. It was like, no, we all worship Oshun, right? Whether you call it this, whether you call it that, right? Yeah, but see, that was the only way to keep it strong. So we had to do that. We had to, because we did not control the racial mixing. We didn't have any control over that. That was forced upon us. So then we couldn't allow that to be the thing that made us something different. We had to actively fight against that making us something different. And we had to completely say, no, I don't honor that making me not African. Which is difficult. That's difficult for brothers and sisters that come over here from West Africa. When I went to Nigeria, I was Oyimbo. I was Oyimbo every day. Every time I left my house, left my dad's house or left my brother's house, I was Oyimbo. Somebody called me Oyimbo all day long. So I spent all day saying, go see Oyimbo. Do. I'm black. I am not a white person. I spent all day saying that. And the children would laugh and be like, well, why do you think you're not white? And I would be like, well, why do you think I am? But I was white all day long. My Nigerian friends here, my friends from West Africa here, they are surprised and shocked when I say, well, no, I mean, I'm African. If I say my name is Ola Ombi, that blows them. Well, how you? How you come by? I mean, I'm West African.
But the thing about it, okay, so did the Oyembo come from you being foreign or your fair-skinnedness?
Both. It comes from both. It comes from you also being,
because they know you're not from here.
Right.
But the white part, I'm like,
see?
I wouldn't even get white, even from.
No. If you were,
I understand the term. Yeah. I was just thinking, what was it based on? If it could.
No, it's my features.
Okay.
It is that when I could sit down and talk to people who were saying it, because my family, of course, my adopted family did not say it. Right. Because according to them, I'm their sister. So they never said it. They probably were thinking it, but they didn't say it. But anyone outside would definitely say that, And so I finally asked. I finally sat down and talked, and they were like, well, I mean, we can look at you and tell that you're half caste, which is true, right? I don't have pure West African features. So that's what they're saying. We can see that you have African parentage, but we can also see that there's something else in there. And so whatever that other thing is half caste. That makes me half caste. And they're not wrong about that. That is true. So I was like, oh, okay. But then why does that automatically make me a Yumbo? And that's just a catchphrase.
Right.
Just a foreigner, white people. It's just a catchphrhrase, you know. And obviously you got some white in you, right? Like you
Don't try to act like it ain't no
It's through your mouth.
Right, you speak the white man's language, you know. You eat the white man's food.
You know, just being younger than me in high school, I would get that from my own peers because of diction, because of my marriage and whatnot. It's like, because you live in the house. And
Yes.
You speak proper English.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, in Africa, or at least in West Africa, they're not really taught about the horrors of slavery.
Right.
So I had to like educate him on all of that
Right.
before he really understood why.
It's an offense.
Never call
Yes.
a black person here white.
Same.
You know, you should, because he also didn't get why it was like, well, I mean, what you want to do? You live in America,
Right.
What?
You gotta
Right.
Yeah.
Same.
Do that to anybody else.
Yeah.
And also hard for them to understand that we are not considered as the same as white people.
Yeah, we're not Americans.
So we are still considered second class citizens, all of that.
They don't
They
get
also
that.
understand that. And so all of that had to be re-educated, and then, you know, for him to
Yeah, they don't get that.
We got white privilege over here.
Yes, they expect that being American means that you have American privilege. So there's no understanding. There's no understanding of the fact that we are an other. I just recently told a professor, he's from Kemet, from Egypt, at MTSU. Favorite professor since I've been down there. And he was like, I just don't understand why you would change your name. Like, why would you other yourself? I said, Dr. Muhammad, I'm other.
Right.
I said, I was born other, and I ain't othering myself. I said, I just want to other myself on the front end.
Right.
So you already know I'm black. You know, when you see the name, like, don't wonder. And then that way, they ain't got to other me on the back end. If I come in here with that other name, and when I get there, they going to be, don't do all that. Just know from the front. I said, I went on and completely took the other that I was born. I said, I'm other here. I'm not. And he was like, I didn't realize that. I was like, yeah, you wouldn't. You're from Asia. So he thought that all of his otherage was because he was from Egypt. I was like, nah, bro, it's because you black. You could have been born here. You would have had that same other.
Melanie.
Yeah, he didn't realize that. That didn't completely. No, I had to explain that. So yeah, the thing of the Oyimbo is like Nyla was saying, it is, you know, you're from America, you're from this area, so you are that. And then very few of us retain those pure West African features, you know, to the degree where you can look and say, oh, this person is West African. So they know. So, you know, some of that is something else in there, you know, and that's what they would say. Well, no, all that means is when I look at you, I can tell that something else is in there. And I had to come to terms with that. I had not come to terms with it before I went to Nigeria. You know, I hadn't thought anything about that. You know, I mean, I know what I look like. I know what my features are. I know that my features are not completely West African. So not that, but I had never thought about, you know, what that means from a lineage perspective. So I had to sit there and cry and have my feelings hurt and be like, what? But that's your history, and you made it through. So yeah, there is something else in there, and this is just something else that your ancestors persevered over. Y'all won. Y'all victorious. You all the way back home. You sitting on your brother's porch in Abiyakuta. You know, it's like it's cool. Relax. Yeah, they're right. To that extent, I had to give them that and say, yeah, you're right about that. You know, because for them, it was not a slur. They didn't mean it as a slur. They didn't mean it derogatorily. And it wasn't that they didn't think that I was West African, but they knew that I was West African with this other stuff. Yeah. And that's true. You know, so I was like, oh.
You find it in a lot of islands too.
Yeah.
Jamaicans, you're mixed. You're
Yeah.
half caste.
Yeah.
Same term. You're half
They
caste.
got
You're not.
half caste over in Jamaica.
They do. And they got half caste in Nigeria too.
You're not just like you're Jamaican.
Right.
You're half caste.
Right.
Not
And
that
they'll tell you
take
like, you're
offense to that
not
just because.
Jamaican or
Right.
you're not black. You're
Right.
half caste.
You're half
But
caste.
don't
You're
know
muggle.
or
Right.
whatever, Asian.
Yeah, right.
No, and it definitely doesn't feel good.
No.
It makes you feel like I'm not a part of the community that I
Right.
feel like I belong to.
Yes.
Like I am Jamaican. What do you mean?
Right.
What do you mean? But you're mixed. You're half
Yeah,
caste. So
something
you're
else
not
is in.
like
You're
so
not
you're not
full.
considered.
Yeah. 'Cause it's the same. It's the same. When I first started dating my ex from Guyana, I was Douglas as far as he was concerned. Well, I mean, you Douglas, right? I was like, how could I be Douglas? That is a mixture of West African and East Indian. He was like, but you did tell me some of your ancestors was Indian. I was like, well, that's not Indian. Do you know what he told me? A coolie, man. Coolie from here, same as coolie from over there. You got Indian? You's a Douglas. That was it. He was done with it. Still to this day.
Yeah.
Still to this day. What, 15 years later? Still to this. I'm Douglas as far as he and his family are concerned. But he's right. From his cultural perspective, I am Douglas. And anything that goes along with that, that's how I'm going to be read from his, for his aunties, his mom. That's how they are looking at me. Them Douglas women.
Yeah.
There's no way I can be. It ain't no East Indian in here, bro.
I'm just black.
He's like, bro, it ain't even possible. But that's just, I'm always going to be, that's going to be the standard. So it's, it is what it is. And I guess for me, you have to learn to accept the beauty of that. And what does that mean for your ancestors? I think that, and I was actually arguing this with a Somalian woman on Facebook one day, because she was saying that African Americans, y'all just let anybody be black. She said, y'all accept anybody as black. Because she was saying, like, she's named some movie stars really, really light skin. I think the woman had gray eyes or whatever. Her hair was, like a less curly, And I mean, really, she was black. She was like, she ain't black. She was like, how y'all just accept? She said, y'all don't. And she was saying that in doing that, we weren't honoring our mothers. She was like, well, if this is what your mother looks like, then how does this person get to be black? And so what I told her is, I completely and totally understand what you're saying. I said, but we refuse to acknowledge the raping of our grandmothers. And so that just didn't happen. So while we see the features and whatever privilege, because it's privilege that comes with the features too, we accept whatever privilege comes with the features. We're not going to acknowledge that. It's too painful to say why it is that I happen to look like this. It's too painful to say, so we just don't. We don't. We had to adopt the one drop rule in order to maintain our selfhood. So we just don't. We just won't. We're not going to say that. I remember my mother was really, 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 really light skinned. If we weren't with her, then people would think that she was white. That's how light she was. And so when I first went off to school, I would tell my friends my mother was white. And I was like, that white woman with that blue coat. And one of my teachers heard me, she was like, your mom is so white, you quit saying that. And so she told my mother, she was like, do you know that she's telling people that you're white? And my mother was like, I didn't know. And so she took me home, and I had to be 4 or 5, I was little. And she said, I am not white. And I said, why do you look like a white person? And she said, because when our ancestors were slaves, somebody raped somebody in our family. She told me this when I was very young. And she said, that's why I look like this. She said, but it's not, you don't ever call me white. That is, it's offensive. And you don't call black people who look like me white. And, I cried. We cried together. We cried and she held me or whatever. But I learned at that young age, that this is why we look like this. But you don't refer to it. You don't say anything. And that's what I had to tell the Somalian sister. I was like, we don't have any choice but to accept everybody. Because it was not the choice of our grandmothers for us to look like this. So then we just say, we all black. We all African. We just hold on to it.
We didn't have it in us to throw our little children away just because, like, who's doing that?
Right.
Like, that's my baby.
Right.
Yeah.
And my grandmother has a story of being in the grocery store with my mom and somebody trying to take her
Oh, what?
and say, there's no way this can be your child.
Wow.
This is some white person's child. And literally trying to and she had to run. Yeah. So yeah, we wasn't gonna throw our babies away. We gonna be, this is my baby. Are you glad?
Just like me.
Right, she
Because we
glad.
go to the same place.
Why you hate? You see this afro? She a little light, but you see this crown, you know? But yeah, let's say toe, ladies and gentlemen. So we are done. Thank you, online people who joined us. I can't see you. Who you will.